We want to thank our sponsors, insure123.com, helping you with all of your personal and business insurance needs. Please check them out at insur123.com. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Tech Sheck. And as we always do, we keep it different. And today we thought, let's talk a little bit about some of our media personalities that are blossoming in Hollywood. There's a lot of interesting things going on in the world and in the US today. So we thought this would be interesting for all of you. And another thing I wanted to say to our guests before I introduce you, feel free to speak in Urdu if you want, because we are focusing on our Pakistani brethren. So with that, I want to introduce Iram Parveen Bilal, a very prolific filmmaker based here in Los Angeles, who's doing some really great stuff, groundbreaking, and has recently produced a fantastic movie, I'll Meet You There. And I encourage everybody to go out, download it from wherever you can find it, and watch it, and she'll give you a little more information on it.
Not on torrents, though.
Keep it legal. Keep it legal. And I'd also like to introduce Farun Tahir, our distinguished veteran who's been in many, many films, many productions across. You'd know him from Iron Man, Elysium, and a very long list of others. Thank you, Faran, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to this.
And last but not least, an up-and-coming person in the industry, Mr. Kamran, Sheck. Watch out for him. He's moving along. He's in my kids' favorite show on Netflix, Outer Banks. And thank you again, Kamran, for being with us today.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. And with that, I wanna open it up.
नाम क्या है? फरहान, बिल्ली का नाम क्या है?
इसका नाम?
बिल्ली.
Oh, मेरी बिल्ली का हो, Alex. Yeah.
Alex भी तो है ना?
Alex भाई. हाँ, Alex भाई हैं, वो हमेशा आते हैं मेरे साथ. उनके approval के बगैर ये काम नहीं हो सकता.
शुक्र है Alex भी famous हो रहा है साथ-साथ हमारे. So anyways, just to open it up, and we want to keep this casual and light, but I'll open it up with you, Iram. So, after your movie, you got me thinking a lot about, the stereotypes that are being played in this country and how people are perceiving it. So I want to throw this question out to you guys. What's changing and what do you see happening with the stereotypes, particularly for us as Pakistanis?
If you want to keep it casual and light, you shouldn't start with me. No, jokes aside, first of all, thanks for saying कि हम उर्दू में बातचीत कर सकते हैं.
बिल्कुल.
देखिए, intention has changed, or rather evolved. I feel कि diversity की बहुत बातें चल रही हैं, industry में है, and ज़ाहिर है there is a process that is happening. But when you have a lot of cracks coming from like deep in the ground, you can't just put duct tape or paper tape and just try and fix it. So I think that the overall haul really needs to happen. We were talking about this earlier at another interview, that जब तक financing और distribution के जो decision makers हैं, वो buy-in नहीं करते diversity को, तब तक आप अपना सर जो है ना दीवार से मार सकते हैं. So as a content creator, क्योंकि ये lovely gentleman तो casting के point of view से बोलेंगे ज़्यादा, but as a content creator, I would say कि हमारी कहानियों का, I still find it difficult. That if we want to tell a lot of nuanced stories, it's still a very uphill battle. As far as that, like for my film, I specifically got responses like, "Oh, but something should be wrong in the mosque," or "There are no named actors," and I was very offended. I said, "Do you not understand Faran Tahir?" I said, "Oh yeah, he's a big name," but basically what they were trying to say is that there's white named actor, and then there is the whole like catch-22, which is if you don't use one of our actors in a big main lead, then how are they supposed to create that so-called name, which is such an offensive word to begin with, right? I mean, we have names.
Oh, interesting. So, what do you say, Faran? What are your thoughts based on?
Well, look, I mean, as Iram said, I mean, I can speak from the casting perspective. And although ये बहुत अच्छी बात है, that this word diversity is in right now. But let's define that particular word a little bit, because क्या diversity का मतलब क्या है कि in 4 1-hour shows you see one brown person?
Mm.
Is that what we're calling diversity, or are we calling diversity bringing diverse content, stories, characters to the forefront? You
Mm.
see, if diversity is about checking a box, then this idea and this buzzword of diversity means nothing. But if we're honest about it, and if we're going to talk about expanding these characters and giving them real life as much as we can, and showing many different uh, characters in the same story, that's diversity. Or bringing new content that actually, like the movie I'll Meet You There, right? If we can bring that kind of content, that's diversity. So we have to, like, just saying this word doesn't do anything for me, because for as long as I've been doing this word has been around.
Mm.
But what's the real level of the engagement is to me the real key to it.
Fair enough. Kamran, your
You want
thoughts,
to
my
feel
friend.
that?
Oh yeah.
He said it all. Are you kidding me? Exactly. He's exactly right. I mean, you're right, huh? Diversity is basically what? Oh, finally they're accepting us, quote unquote.
Mhm.
Or is it that, oh, finally, let's colorize the screen a little bit too, so that people know that we are equal opportunists, right? But at the same time, Iram is right. I have yet to see a Hollywood type movie that doesn't show like a conflict and especially in the Pakistani community or the Muslim, uh, you know, range. How basically there's no like a mosque, like she said, like a mosque, conflict or something like that. Or I would love to see a comedy that's plain and simple. Like for example, Crazy Rich Asians.
Mm.
Okay? Crazy Rich Asians was a breakthrough, I think. So another movie just got made that I'm the dad in, actually. India Sweets and Spices. I don't know, Iram, if
I
if
didn't know you're the dad.
that
I
in
love Geeta. I love Geeta. But even Crazy Rich Asians, Kamran, just to take it off from what you're saying, it's a bit of a caricature, right? I mean, there's this idea of अच्छा जी अमीर Asians हैं या तो वो kung fu कर रहे होते हैं या फिर वो fashion कर रहे होते हैं. I mean, that's just ridiculous, right? So there is a little bit, there is the other rising, and I think that is why nuanced stories kind of fall through the cracks, because people aren't interested in it. Has to do with the marketing. I think it's with the perception of the taste of the audience, and then from that they reverse engineer marketing, and then from that they're like, okay, what do we green light? So in that sense, but I will say, just to answer your earlier question, to Pakistanis, there is a new horizon. There's rising. It's interesting, like whether it's the Miss Marvel or it's thanks to Riz or whatever. I feel like the Pakistanis are arriving. They have arrived, given their percentage population compared to Indians. There is an intrigue. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm feeling it.
Yeah, I think I got into it right at the right moment. I got into this about 3 years ago, so I'm new at this, but Allah ka shukar hai that it's been really, really good, and I look for your guys' guidance to make.
Farhan, Farhan.
No.
Farhan,
Look,
आपको
Get old.
that's a silver lining. Look, I mean, and I said this in another interview earlier, that's a silver lining. That, and as Iram said, that we are at a point where if we really stay honest to it, we can change things. You know what I mean? Like I think we've started to come to a point where we can make a mark, and so the responsibility will fall upon us, how we do it. But yeah, going back to the whole diversity thing, that's the thing that I want to find out. That uh, if we're talking diversity, are we changing the structure so that movies like Iran's movie can come out without having to pull our teeth out and pull our hair out? You know what I mean? So if those channels are being opened, then hallelujah, let's do this. And if that's not happening, if this is lip service,
लेकिन इस बात पे मैं फरहान ने एक पहले मुद्दा उठाया था हमारी कम्युनिटी के हवाले से, विच इज के जब हम ऑडियंस की बात करते हैं, क्योंकि ऑडियंस इज किंग, बिल्कुल जिस तरह आप जब टिकट लेते हैं ऐसा है जैसा आप कोई वोट कर रहे हैं इलेक्शन में, जब तक हमारी ऑडियंस ड्रोव्स में नहीं आएगी हमारी फिल्में देखने, तो वो कहेंगे भाई कहाँ है ऑडियंस, हम यही कहते रहेंगे ना कि यू नो इफ यू बिल्ड इट दे विल कम, वेल वी हैव बिल्ट इट, वेयर आर दे, राइट? So from investment to coming in audiences, and I will say, mashallah, I feel like the investment community has really improved in film since the last 15 years when I started raising money for Josh. That's probably because all these uncles and aunties now, their kids want to be filmmakers, so they've woken up to like, oh, okay, you know, filmmaking is a thing. Yeah.
Josh the band?
No.
Okay.
Josh the movie.
The movie.
But I know Josh the band.
That's
I know, yeah. So, but no, that's kind of, I feel कि ये भी है कि हम अपनी community के हिसाब से भी हमें हवाले से बात करना चाहिए कि we need to kind of support and prompt and go out there and show our voices by spending money, not downloading illegally.
The $1 million.
mention कर चुके हैं, ये बहुत हो रहा है क्या?
काफी.
Really?
I mean, flattering, I guess, but in Pakistan, हो रहा है.
It's flattering, but I mean, you know,
we're waiting for the cinemas to open. We're waiting for distribution. So, what are people going to do? They're hearing about the film.
It's not. I mean, that's you. There must be so much money lost in that. I mean,
yeah. Interesting, you know, and I'm really happy, you know, that we've been able to bring a few diverse viewpoints to this year, and you know, this is something that's rather important, and something that I wanted to, you know, kind of what I'm building towards my next question. We're going to touch on the borderline of controversial here. Again, I grew up here in the U.S. As maybe, you know, I know a lot of you. We've been here for a while. Let's just put it that way. और मैंने जो देखा है अपने हिसाब से जो चीजें perceptions जो change हो रही हैं, and there's an unfortunate situation happening today. And we won't get into all of the details. Everybody knows what that situation is. But ये मुझे बताएं एक चीज आप लोग. And I think this is something I want our audience to understand. कुछ लोग हैं जिन्होंने narrative बहुत सही तरह से control किया हुआ है. ठीक है? और वो लोग हम नहीं हैं. Let's be real. ठीक है? We're few and far between and scattered. हमारी बात में वजन है. हम गलत नहीं हैं. लेकिन हमारा narrative नहीं पकड़ाया जाता.
Can I say something about that, because that's something I'm very passionate about. And the thing is,
that's what I want to
and the thing is that yes, we can say that other people have been really successful in you know defining their narrative, and we have been defending a narrative, right? I mean that becomes the big problem.
Right.
But I will go back to the old issue. The issue is that let's stop wanting others to do that for us. You see, that is my thing, that if there's a larger collective which we have, whether we're talking about the Pakistani community or we're talking about the Middle Eastern community, or we're talking, you know, whatever you're talking about, there's enough resources within our community not to be always creating a counter narrative. But to be creating a narrative by which we can be defined and judged, rather than always being on the back foot playing on the defense. So बात है ना, ये बात बहुत ज्यादा होती है, हर दफा होती है, और कई दफा ये साफ लफ्जों में होती है, कई दफा ये पॉलिटिकल लफ्जों में होती है, लेकिन ये बात होती है कि जी दूसरे लोग जो है वो तो अपना नैरेटिव बहुत अच्छा बोल देते हैं,
बिल्कुल,
और हम लोग नहीं बोलते. तो भाइयों मुझे ये बताओ कि हमारे पास किस चीज की कमी है? I'm sorry, I'm a little passionate about this.
Don't apologize for passion.
In the community, is there lack of money? Absolutely not.
No.
What we lack is will, and what we lack is not to become the ability and the will to become the leaders. We want to be the followers, and we want to depend on the kindness of strangers, but the strangers have no responsibility to show us in any light, good, bad, or ugly.
You're right.
They will only serve their story or use a particular person, character, whatever, as a tool. We have to tell our stories. So where is the support for that? All right. That was my tirade for a minute.
So there's
Please,
also
next.
You're right. Rather than bitching and talking,
Moaning, yeah.
get involved a little more. But a lot of times, I mean, for me, I speak for myself. I need guidance. How do I get involved?
There you go. That's it.
You know,
so, it's interesting. Faran and I tried to do this like with Open and with a couple of other places earlier, and we were basically trying to do essentially investing 101 to try and talk to our community on how to invest. But I would like to go a step behind, which is I feel the disconnect is in actually acknowledging and respecting our field and respecting the impact of art.
Fair enough.
I honestly don't feel our community takes this seriously. They are arriving there. अब वो just आप कह रहे हैं ना narrative और media ऐसे नहीं हो जाता. ये decades and centuries of strategy and planning से होता है. अब वो समझ आ रही है ना बात है अब क्या करें. अब हमारी जो है generations आ गई हैं फिल्मों में. अब documentarians नहीं है सिर्फ. अब फिल्में अब soft power आ रही है of like media. तो जब तक हम अपने लिविंग रूम्स में बैठ के फिल्मों को और सब हर चीज को हराम कहना छोड़ देंगे ना, या हम अपने बच्चों को इनकरेज करेंगे, या ये मेरे साथ हो चुका है बाय द वे, इट वाज द मोस्ट ऑफेंसिव थिंग व्हेन वन ऑफ दीस लाइक fundraisers where this lady came and wanted to take pictures with me, and then literally I won't name this very famous musician was came up on stage and he gave a speech about how all these doctors we should like encourage our kids to become आर्टिस्ट. कहते हैं हाँ हमारे बच्चों को तो अपनी तरह मरासी बना देगा या वो बना देगा. हाँ हाँ. She was sitting right next to me, or like कि जी आप खुद तो अपने कमा लेंगे हमारे बच्चे क्या. And I just was like, it was the most depressing thing to hear that. She just did not connect that I'm an artist too, who you're just taking a photo with and trying to elevate. जब तक हम बंद दरवाजों के पीछे अपने बच्चों को भी खुले दिल से और सच्चाई से ये नहीं कहेंगे कि हाँ जो तुम करना चाहते हो करो, or art is as important as science, like, I mean, look at the greats, right? Whether it's Einstein, whether it's Marie Curie, whether it's Feynman, all these people had imagination, right? Why do we exalt one and just, kind of deprecate the other?
Yeah.
So that was my passionate, sorry. I
encourage all my kids to do whatever makes them happy.
Yeah.
And when I say all, I mean all five. All my kids, I told them, whatever makes you happy and gets you content. You don't have to be rich to be happy. Just content is the key. And I've got from 24 all the way down to 9. So got a lot on my plate.
Yeah,
this is really important, and I'm glad I know, and Faran, I'm glad that you're passionate about this, because it's heartbreaking that we have so much power within our community. We have the smarts, we have the capability, but we're a little late to the game. And I'm hoping situations like what we're going through right now help us open our eyes further to the power of the messaging, to the power of the
and I think one thing that I say a lot is that what we are not understanding is that in the world that we live in, wars are lost and won in media way before they ever fought on a battlefield.
I agree.
You know what I mean? It's a war of opinion.
Yeah.
And if we don't support to get our narrative out, I think we're not looking at the bigger picture, the longer picture. When our kids, because if we bring these stories, we humanize our experience. But if we don't bring these stories, people create their whatever their image or their understanding of us is based on whatever knowledge they have. So when my son or my daughter or your son or your daughter walks into a job interview, and the person, because look, I mean, mainstream एक और बात मैं करना चाहता हूँ. हम लोग जब mainstream की बात करते हैं कि हमें mainstream में लेके आओ, तो इसका ये मतलब नहीं है कि मुझे John या Michael बना.
बिल्कुल.
What I'm saying is that mainstream में वो है, but I can stay Salim or Majid or whatever. That's mainstream. Like bring our stories to that level, to that level of availability, that it becomes just another name, just like Jeff or whatever. Anyway, So my point is that if we don't do this, yes, it's entertainment, yes, but it's also investing in our future, so that when our kids go out for a job, and if the person who's interviewing them has a bias that he doesn't even know because of the lack of information that he has received, it works against us, right? So I mean, there's so many layers to this onion that one can peel, and the crux of it still ends up being that we need to make sure that our stories are that we help each other to bring those stories to the forefront.
And in some ways, the way those stories, whether it's mainstream or indie, because what has happened is also, ab just now meri film thi, right? In order to get it funded by the mainstream, I would have had to compromise on the narrative. I would have had to do a lot of, and there are people. तभी आप देखते हैं कि लोग, so many countless people have said, "Oh my gosh, this is the first time I've seen like a compassionate father, Muslim father, that he was not a villain who was just like this with his daughter," right? So many people have said that. So, but why is it that there have been a lot of filmmakers and peers, you know, who have had to kind of, if they wanted to get their film made on a certain level, they've had to kind of play those roles. So you need those people as well to at least create data points, but then you also need the people who are doing the indie, you also need the documentarian, you need all of that. And also understand that, again, fiction, I believe, travels way farther than nonfiction because it's indirect, because you open an emotional window to have a conversation that isn't saying, you know, this is what's happening, this is how many people who are dying. It's a little softer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fiction based on reality.
Yeah, it's a velvet hammer. So
great. Well, guys, look, I try to keep these a little bit shortish. So we've done a good 30 minutes here, which is awesome. But first of all, the message I want to send is out to the audience. देखें, आप लोगों को मैं एक और dimension दिखा रहा हूँ. ये directly technology से related नहीं है, लेकिन मैंने एक चीज सोची हुई है. हम as a qawm, we are in so much social media, we're so active and TikTok and Instagram and everything. देखें, हमारा narrative हमारे control में, और जो ये लोग बात कर रहे हैं. One thing I wanted to emphasize is, if your children have a penchant and a flair and a passion, nurture, help, develop, this can only help us long term. You're not diminishing your kids by giving them the ability to exercise their creativity and become artists. And we have testaments sitting in front of us. And with that, I want to thank all of you for your time today. I know you're all very busy. बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आपका आने का. और मैं एक और plug दूंगा. Iram की movie is fantastic. Particularly if you're living here in North America, please buy and watch her movie. It is very relevant, and there's a lot of lessons for our family. And without a doubt, continue to watch all of the shows Faran's in, because he gets paid every time you watch it, and the same with Kamran.
Follow me on Instagram. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Bye.